Hello. Welcome to this new video. This time we are going to continue with our CEH version 13 preparation. And as you can see, we have covered all these modules. And right now we're going to cover module 9, which is social engineering. And again, this is one of those topics that is mostly theoretical more than practical, at least for the CEH exam. They expect you to learn the social engineering concepts and techniques, and for the written exam, and by written I mean electronic, it's talking about concepts. When you take the practical exam, if you want to be a CEH master, you don't really do much with social engineering, to be honest. It's one of those things that you need to memorize if you don't know them, and just memorize them. And I'm not a fan of memorizing things, but this is one of those things that you need to memorize to pass the test. Once you pass the test, all those concepts and terms, you can Google them, and you can continue your way. So, including how to identify theft attempts, audit human levels vulnerabilities, and suggest social engineering countermeasures. So, that is what they expect you to know for that. So, something to keep in mind when you work in cybersecurity, and when, in this case, if you want to take the CEH exam, you do have to memorize a lot of these concepts, and I'm just gonna go over them real quick. As you could see, this is self-explanatory for the most part. You have to know what phishing is, right? And this used to be the main type of attacks that you used to see back in the days, and that is deceptive emails, and this is the key words. Emails, when you hear phishing, emails is involved, designed to trick users into revealing sensitive information. And then you have a concept of spear phishing, and spear phishing is the same as phishing but is targeted, and that would be a key term or a key word that you need to memorize: targeted phishing. When you see phishing campaigns, an attacker is going to send emails to maybe everybody in the organization, or perhaps a group or department within the organization, whereas spear phishing, the attacker is going to send a very well crafted, hopefully, email to one specific user, probably the CEO, the head of HR, the head of finance, and so on and so forth. Now, there is a new concept called vishing, and you do have to know this concept because it is phishing via phone calls to extract sensitive information. So it's basically playing social engineering. I remember that probably a couple of years ago, I got a phone call from somebody who said my brother got into an accident, and they picked up the phone, and they just wanted to let me know that, and I have to send some money. At the moment that I answered the call, I panicked. That is until I remember I didn't have a brother. So it was very easy to spot this type of attack. But vishing is more prevalent, a type of attack that is more prevalent towards the senior population, because these attackers try to prey into the vulnerabilities and play with the seniors. So that is really bad, but sadly it's there. So you have to know the term, at least what it is. You have to know the term of pretexting, which is creating a fabricated scenario to manipulate the victim into divulging information. And you may think, oh, who's going to fall for phishing? Who's going to call for smishing? Who's going to call when people give them a pretext? Believe it or not, highly sophisticated attacks are successful. That's why it keeps happening. And all of us are vulnerable. All of us at one point or another to fall into one of these attacks, this is what we need to have the proper security controls in place in case we do. You have to know terms as, for instance, baiting, right? You know what the concept of baiting is, but in terms of cybersecurity, offering something enticing, and this happens a lot whenever you get those phishing emails. Then they want you to know the terms as tailgating, and this is following an authorized person into a restricted area. This is very common. This is a concept that not only cybersecurity, but facilities and network administrators, we're always looking into ways to minimize or prevent tailgating, and that's one of those things that we just have to do it, all of us. Dumpster diving. This is one of those terms that comes out of James Bond's movies. I mean, like, I've never seen anybody dumpster diving, right? Which is searching through discarded documents or garbage, going into the dumpsters to see what information is there. However, I must confess that once I met someone who was from a country that was part of the UN rotating Security Council, right? So this, the UN Security Council, they have rotating members, and it just so happens that I knew somebody who was doing IT for the mission of this country, and he became too aware that it was very common for people, like the cleaning people, to go through the garbage they were disposing, and it just raised a suspicion. Like, we don't really know if that was legitimate type of espionage or not, but it just raised a suspicion, and he started shredding all documents, which is something that that person should have done anyway from day one. But anyway, so dumpster diving, you get the concept. That's one of those things that you only, I'm not gonna say that it doesn't happen, but it's mostly in movies. But you have to know the concept of that. Credential harvesting, you have to know what it is, which is collecting login credentials by tricking users into entering them into a fake page. This is a very common type of attack. I'm gonna create a video for this. It's very simple to spin up a website. Create a copy of a site and spin up a website with a database in the back end, and just post it in there, and have people potentially connect to it or try to log into it, and then you're going to be able to collect the information. This is where the concept gets interesting when it comes to open source intelligence. I've created a couple of videos for this. You have to know what man-in-the-middle attacks. You have to know what a rogue Wi-Fi hotspot is. I mean, these are very common type of social engineering attacks. I don't know if I have created a video on this. I created videos on identifying and preventing this type of attacks using Meraki. But I don't remember if I created a video demonstrating how that works. If not, I'll create one of them. You have to know how the social engineering toolkit works. I've created a couple of videos on this. If you don't have any idea, please go through my videos. And that's just a penetration testing tool used to simulate social engineering attacks. Very nice, very powerful, and very simple to use. So make sure you know that. GoPhish, a tool designed for documenting phishing simulation campaigns. You have to know a couple of tools. You have to know what the security awareness training, how to prevent most of these social engineering attacks are gonna get stopped by using MFA, right? Multi-factor authentication, because even if the credentials in one way or another gets compromised, the attacker still needs the other factor to successfully authenticate to a system. So you have to understand that concept, how to mitigate or prevent these attacks. Impersonation, you know what that is. You have to know that psychological manipulation, gosh, that happens everywhere, not only in phishing attacks. You have to know what whaling is. This is an interesting concept, a social engineering attack targeting high-profile individuals, such as executives. The difference between whaling and and spear phishing is that spear phishing is just one, or maybe two individual targets, whereas whaling is usually multiple targets that are of high in the hierarchy of the organization, like executives, and you have need to know what a honey trap is. Is attacked when an attacker builds a trust and manipulates a victim into providing information. So those are general concepts that you need to know for the exam. And let me go over 20 questions that I have prepared regarding this topic for you to look into. And again, I'm not gonna read every single question. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna see how I can attach or upload this to the video description so you guys can download. And all of you have been asking me, how do you get, how do I get these questions? So I'm gonna start posting those questions out there. And again, I'm still working on the 500 preparations questions for the exam. I'm still working on that. I'm not done yet, but at least you can use these and not only reading them, but you can downloading at your own pace and going through that. So let me just go over a couple of them. The first one, as you know, is what is the primary goal of social engineering? And you need to know that, right? Which is to exploit human psychology. When it comes to social engineering, psychology is involved in there. You're not pretty much using. You use technology, but you use technology to try to trick people into disclosing information. So that would be the primary goal of social engineering. Question number 2, which of the following is an example of phishing? That definitely you do need to know how to identify phishing attacks and attackers sending fraudulent emails to steal credentials. And personally, this is just for the exam, right? And this is a good definition for the exam. In real life, attackers send phishing attempts not only to steal credentials, but to create a map of the organization if possible, right? I've seen many phishing emails of attackers saying, hey, I'm such and such person. Can you please tell me the information of this and this other person? So information that they cannot collect through the public sites, that try to use phishing emails to come up with that information. So, and again, for the exam, this is good, but as I've always said, the real thing goes beyond the exam. The CEH exam, I hope you pass this. Go for that. Give it a shot. Your best shot. Pass. Take it. But in reality, if you want to be a cybersecurity professional, you have to know way more than what you're going to do in that exam. So, and you will get there. It's going to take some time, maybe, depending on your background, but you're going to get there. So even if you're a beginner, if you're starting, just keep studying, be consistent. What is the difference between spear phishing and regular phishing? We talked about this. What is vishing? We went over this. What does pretexting involve in social engineering? We went over that. What is the purpose of tailgating in social engineering? This is an interesting concept because tailgating is not an email or anything. It's a physical act, right? Like you walk with somebody and you try to get into the authorized area without permissions, and that would be following an authorized individual into a restricted area. And believe it or not, this still happens, right? Like I saw on the news a couple of weeks ago that two men got into into an airplane going, I believe from here, from New York, going to Florida or something like that. And the big question is, how were they able to get into that restricted area of the airport so they could get to the tarmac and all that? So I'm sure they tailgated a lot of people. What is smishing? We just covered that in here. Which of the following is an example of dumpster diving? Common sense. what is a common defense against phishing attacks, and that is MFA for now. You can use maybe Windows Hello. We can make a case that also is going to help you for that. For the exam, this is good. MFA, depending on the type of multi-factor authentication you're using, some of them are going to be more secure than others, but at least for the exam, this is good. And for the average user, MFA is something that you need to have in place. So let me just elaborate here a little bit more. I don't want to make this video too long, but it's important for you to know this. And that is that by implementing MFA, you're not going to prevent phishing attacks. You're going to prevent that the attacks become successful, meaning if you're receiving tons of phishing emails, you're going to keep receiving them whether you have MFA or not. It's just that if your account gets compromised, then you have a different layer of defense, which is multi-factor authentication, which tool is commonly used for phishing simulations. This is one of those things that you need to know. Go download it, go fish, play with that. What role does OSINT play in social engineering? Here you have. Which attack tricks users into entering credentials into a fake page? You know that is credential harvesting. So here you have the questions. I'm not going to read all this. I'm not going to insult your intelligence. I know that you can read this and going through that. What I'm going to do this time around, as I mentioned before, I'm going to find a way to upload this to the video, put those in there so you can download them. I am not going to upload the answers, because if you don't know the answers, come up with your own answers. See what makes sense to you. If you run into a pickle, hey, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section, and I reply back to you with the proper answer. And again, as I have mentioned previously, some of these questions are open to interpretations. I've taken, so many exams, and I don't agree with all of those questions, or at least with the answer to some of those questions. And perhaps this is going to be the case, but remember, this is for you to utilize these resources to help you pass the CeHv13 exam. That's what you want to do, and then you want to keep building on your career and your knowledge. As always, thank you for watching. If you made it this far into the video, I would really appreciate if you let me know in the comment section, because every time that I see the watch time on these videos is just a 10th out of the whole video, which is interesting. But I believe they are useful, especially if you're new into cybersecurity. If you found this information useful, all I ask you to do is to click on the like button. Consider subscribing to the channel, because I post videos about CEH and all different type of security topics and best practices. If you know of anyone who can benefit from this information, feel free to forward this video over to them. I would really appreciate that. Thanks for watching one more time, and I will talk to you on the next video.